Commander Jake Morrison walked into the giant meeting room. His boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. Around him, thousands of alien beings sat in tall chairs. They all looked different. Some had 6 legs like giant bugs. Others had 3, heads with sharp teeth. A few looked like living rocks that glowed with strange light. Jake stopped in the center of the room. He wore his best uniform. The blue fabric had gold buttons and Earth's flag on his shoulder. Behind him stood Dr. Lisa Carter. She carried a small computer with important information about humanity. The room buzzed with noise. Machines translated Jake's words into alien languages. Some aliens clicked their teeth. Others made low growling sounds. A few spoke in high whistling, noises that hurt human ears. "Friends from across the galaxy," Jake said in a loud, clear voice. "My name is Jake Morrison. I speak for all humans on Earth. We come here today asking for peace. We want to be your neighbors. We want to trade with you and learn from you." A giant bug-like creature stood up. His name was Vextar. He came from a planet where his people had fought wars for thousands of years. His big eyes looked at Jake like he was seeing something funny. "Human," Vextar said, with a voice that sounded like metal scraping stone. "Your people are new to space. Your weapons are weak. Your ships move slowly. Why should we listen to children?" Jake's face stayed calm, but his hands made fists behind his back. "We may be new to your galaxy, but we are not children. The weapons you have seen are not our best weapons. The ships in your spaceports are not our fastest ships. We show you only what we want you to see." Many aliens began to laugh. The sound filled the huge room. Some slapped their legs with joy. Others showed rows of sharp teeth in what might have been smiles. A creature with 3 heads and muscles like a mountain stood up. His name was Brutax. He was a war chief from a planet where fighting never stopped. All 3 of his heads spoke at the same time. "Lies," they said together. "We have watched your people for many years. Your whole military could not defeat one of our patrol groups. You have nothing to fear us with." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. She touched her computer and pictures appeared in the air above them. The pictures showed weapons that could destroy entire cities. They showed ships that could move faster than light. They showed soldiers in armor that could stop any bullet. "These are examples of our technology," Lisa said. "We can show you more if you wish. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. We have bombs that turn matter into pure energy. We have ways to fight that would make your worst nightmares seem like pleasant dreams." The room became quiet for a moment. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. A being made of living crystal spoke. His voice sounded like music, but cold music without warmth. He was called the Eternal Voice, and he was older than most stars. "Small humans with big words, your pictures could be fake. Your claims could be lies. Show us real proof." Jake looked around the room. He saw beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They thought humans were just another weak species that would beg for scraps. "You want proof?" Jake asked. "Very well. Lisa, show them the test from last month." Lisa touched her computer again. New pictures appeared. They showed a small moon orbiting a dead planet far from Earth. The moon was made of solid rock and metal. It was bigger than Earth's moon. "This moon was our target," Lisa explained. "We used one weapon, one ship. Watch what happens." The picture showed a small human ship approaching the moon. The ship was no bigger than the alien ships they had seen before. It fired once. A beam of light hit the moon. The moon disappeared. Not exploded, not broken apart. It simply stopped existing. Where solid rock had been, there was now empty space and floating dust. The room became very quiet. "That weapon," Jake said into the silence, "is considered outdated by our military. We stopped using it 5 years ago because we built something better. The ship that fired it was built by college students as a school project." Vextar's big eyes blinked rapidly. "Impossible. No species developed such power so quickly." "We did not develop it quickly," Jake replied. "We developed it over thousands of years of fighting each other. While your species explored space and built peaceful, Colonies, humans were learning how to kill other humans in the most efficient ways possible. Jake walked closer to the alien delegates. Many of them leaned back in their chairs. For most of our history, we believed we were alone in the universe. So we spent our time fighting ourselves. We built weapons to destroy our own cities. We created diseases to kill our own people. We learned to turn the very atoms of matter into weapons of war. Dr. Lisa brought up more pictures. These showed Earth's history. Wars that covered entire continents. Weapons that could end all life on the planet. Battles in space around Earth's moon. When we finally achieved peace on our world, Jake continued, it was because we had become too dangerous to ourselves. We had to choose between peace and extinction. We chose peace, but we kept the weapons. Brutax's 3 heads whispered to Brew, each other. Then they spoke as one. If you are so powerful, why do you ask for peace? Why not simply take what you want? Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Because we remember what we were. We remember what we are capable of becoming. We came to this galaxy hoping to be better than our past. We want to trade, to learn, to grow alongside you. But, he continued, his voice becoming harder, we will not allow ourselves to be destroyed by species who mistake our desire for peace as weakness. The eternal voice made sounds like breaking glass. You threaten the Galactic Council? No, Jake said firmly. We warn the Galactic Council. There is a difference. A threat tells you what we will do. A warning tells you what we might have to do. He looked around the room one more time. Humans have learned to wage war in ways that would horrify civilized beings. We developed these methods because we were alone and had no choice but to fight ourselves. When we discovered you, we chose restraint. We chose to show you only our peaceful side. We chose to hide our weapons and our capabilities. We chose to approach you as friends rather than conquerors. Jake's voice filled the entire chamber. But make no mistake, that choice can be unmade. If you force us to defend ourselves, you will learn why Earth is the only planet in our solar system with life on it. You will discover what happens when a species spends 10,000 years perfecting the art of total war. The meeting ended with uncomfortable silence. Most aliens looked worried. A few still seemed to think humans were bluffing. As Jake and Lisa walked out of the chamber, she whispered to him, "Do you think they understood?" Jake watched the alien delegates talking among themselves in worried voices. Some of them did, but not enough. 3 months later, the first attacks on human colonies began. The galaxy had decided to test whether humanity's warnings were real. They were about to discover that some tests have very expensive answers. Admiral Carol Stevens stood in the command room of her ship. The clock showed 3 in the morning. Outside the windows, space looked empty and black. But Carol knew better. Hidden in the darkness were hundreds of human ships that the galaxy had never seen. A young officer ran up to her with a message pad. His name was Bobby Chen, and he was one of the smartest people in the human fleet. His hands shook as he gave her the pad. "Admiral," he said quietly, "the message just came from Earth. All human governments have agreed they are giving us permission to use our real weapons." Carol read the message twice. It was short but clear. Remove all limits. Show the galaxy what humans can really do. Stop pretending to be weak. She looked at the big screen that showed star maps. Red dots marked where alien ships were attacking human colonies. The attacks had been going on for 2 weeks. 40,000 people were already dead. "Captain Rodriguez," she called to her weapons officer, "send the signal to all battle groups. Tell them we are now using full power protocols." Captain Rodriguez was a man who had fought in Earth's last wars. His fingers moved quickly over his controls. "Admiral, all ships are ready. The hidden fleets are moving into position." On another screen, Bobby Chen showed her the latest reports. "Ma'am, the aliens have 300 ships in the Kepler system. They are bombing New Austin Colony. We lost contact 18 hours ago." New Austin was home to 40,000 families. They had built farms and schools there. Children played in parks while their parents worked in the fields. Now all of that was gone. "How many people live there?" Carol asked, though she already knew. 40,000 civilians, Admiral, including 8,000 children. Carol closed. her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were hard as steel. Launch the Reaper drones. Across human space, weapons that had been hidden for decades suddenly came alive. The Reaper drones were not like normal spaceships. They were small and fast and carried weapons that the galaxy had never imagined. In the Proxima system, a group of alien warships was celebrating their easy victory over a human trading post. The aliens called themselves Corvanians. They were big and strong and loved to fight. Their leader was War Chief Brutax, the same alien who had laughed at Jake Morrison in the council meeting. Brutax stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, his officers cheered and roared with joy. They had destroyed the human base without losing a single ship. "These humans are even weaker than we thought," Brutax said, with all three of his heads grinning. Their weapons barely scratched. "Our shields." His tactical officer looked at his instruments. "War Chief, I am reading strange energy patterns. Something is approaching our fleet." "More human ships?" Brutax asked. "Good. We will destroy them too." "Sir, the readings are not normal. These ships are very small, but they are generating massive power." On the view screen, tiny dots appeared. They looked like metal insects flying through space. There were only 12 of them, but they moved faster than anything the Corvanians had ever seen. 12 ships against our entire fleet? Brutax laughed. "The humans have gone mad." The first Reaper drone reached the edge of the Corvanian formation. It fired a weapon that looked like a thin beam of blue light. The beam hit the nearest alien ship. The ship did not explode. Instead, it began to come apart. The metal hull turned into powder. The engines became clouds of gas. The crew floated in space as their ship dissolved around them. "What is happening?" Brutax screamed. "Report!" His tactical officer's voice was full of fear. "Sir, the humans are using some kind of matter conversion weapon. It is turning our ships into basic atoms." More Corvanian ships began to dissolve. Their strong armor and powerful shields meant nothing against weapons that attacked matter itself. In minutes, 20 ships had simply stopped existing. Through the chaos came larger human ships. They were black and sleek and moved like hunting animals. These were the ships from humanity's real fleet. The lead ship opened communications. A human captain appeared on Brutax's screen. His name was Steve Parker, and his eyes were cold. "Corvanian vessels," Steve said calmly. "You attacked civilians under Earth's protection. Your lives are now forfeit. But we will accept your surrender if you yield immediately." All three of Brutax's heads snarled at once. "We are Corvanian warriors. We do not surrender to weak species." "Then you die as warriors," Steve replied. "Fire the stellar lance." The human ship's main weapon charged up. Energy built until it was brighter than a small sun. When it fired, the beam cut through space like a sword made of light. Brutax's massive battleship was cut in half. The beam continued for 3 light seconds, destroying 17 more ships in a perfect line. Each ship was vaporized completely, leaving nothing but glowing gas. The same scene happened in 12 star systems at the same time. Human fleets appeared out of nowhere with weapons the galaxy could not understand. In the Wolf system, aliens had set up a blockade to stop human trade ships. Their leader was Commander Vextar, the bug creature who had mocked humanity at the council meeting. Vextar watched his instruments in growing terror. Human ships were appearing inside his formations, not approaching from outside, but materializing directly among his vessels. "How are they doing this?" he buzzed to his officers. "Our sensors show nothing, then suddenly they are here." A human ship appeared next to his flagship. It was so close he could see details on its hull. The ship fired once. The blast turned 3 of Vextar's ships into balls of pure energy. The explosions were brighter than stars but lasted only seconds. When the light faded, there was nothing left but empty space. "They are using controlled nuclear fire," his science officer reported. "But the technology should be impossible. They are containing nuclear explosions and using them as weapons." More human ships materialized. Each one carried weapons that broke the laws of physics as the aliens understood them. Ships that could phase in and out of normal space. Guns that turned matter into energy with perfect efficiency. shields that reflected any attack back at the attacker. Commander Vextar sent an emergency message to his home world. The humans are not using any technology we recognize. Our ships are being destroyed by what can only be called weaponized science. Send the entire Third Fleet immediately. The answer came back quickly. Request denied. Intelligence reports say, humans are using impressive but limited prototype weapons. Continue your mission. Vextar stared at the message as another squadron of his ships vanished in nuclear fire. The humans were not just winning. They were demonstrating that they had been holding back their true power all along. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter stood in the war room watching reports from across the galaxy. Next to her, Jake Morrison wore the uniform of Supreme Commander of all human forces. "Jake," she said quietly, "are we doing the right thing? Even our enemies have families and children." Jake watched the tactical displays show human victories everywhere. Each battle was more one-sided than the last. Tell that to the families on New Austin, Lisa. Tell that to the children who died when these aliens decided to test our warnings. But the scale of destruction we are causing. Jake turned to her with eyes that had seen too much war. The galaxy wanted to know what humans do when pushed to fight. Now they are learning. We told them we were restraining ourselves. We warned them what would happen if they forced us to stop. On the screens, human forces continued their advance. Every victory was faster and more complete than the last. Ships that had been hidden in deep space for decades were finally being used. Weapons that had been theoretical were now burning holes through alien fleets. The galaxy was discovering that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their tactics. It was their willingness to escalate beyond any limit when their warnings were ignored, and this was still only the beginning. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council happened faster than any meeting in history. Representatives from across the galaxy rushed to the council station. Many of them looked scared. Others looked angry. All of them looked confused. The great meeting hall was full of worried voices. Aliens who usually argued about trade routes and territory borders now had much bigger problems to discuss. The humans had shown weapons that their best scientists said were impossible. The eternal voice, the ancient crystal being who led the council, glowed with colors that meant fear and confusion. The human military has deployed weapons that our greatest minds cannot explain. They are destroying entire battle fleets with devices that seem to break the basic laws of nature. Ambassador Helen Wright sat in the human chair. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. For years she had worked to make friends between Earth and other species. Now she watched the panicked aliens with a calm face that somehow made them more nervous. "Honored delegates," Helen said in a clear voice. "I believe you called this meeting to discuss recent military actions between our species." Vextar, the bug-like alien who had escaped the battle at Wolf System, scuttled forward, on his 6 legs. Half of his fleet was gone and his compound eyes showed terror. "Your people have broken 17 galactic laws about warfare. You are using weapons that cause mass destruction against military targets." Helen smiled. It was not a mean smile, but it was not comforting either. "I am sorry, Vextar, but humans never signed those laws. We were not part of your galactic community when you wrote them. We were, as you called us, primitives on a backwater world." War Matron Scalex spoke for the Corvanians since Brutax was dead. She was a huge female with 4 arms and scars covering her face. Her voice shook with rage and fear. "Your forces are using weapons that turn matter into energy. That level of technology should be impossible for a species that only reached space 200 years ago." "Should be impossible," Helen agreed pleasantly. "But you made a mistake when you tried to understand humanity." "What mistake?" the eternal voice demanded with sounds like breaking crystal. Helen stood up. Every being in the chamber became quiet. "You thought we built our technology to explore space peacefully. The truth is we built it to kill each other. For thousands of years we made our weapons better and better to fight enemies who knew exactly how we fought." She touched a control, and pictures appeared in the air above the council. The pictures showed Earth's bloody history, wars that lasted decades, weapons that could end all life on the planet. Cities turned to ash by bombs that used the power of stars. We did not build spaceships first, Helen continued. We built weapons first. We did not reach for the stars to find knowledge. We reached for them to gain advantages over other humans. When we finally made peace on Earth, it was because we had become so good at war that continuing meant everyone would die. Dr. Alan Foster stepped forward. He was Earth's chief scientist and had helped design many of the weapons the galaxy now feared. Our first space weapons were simple kinetic bombardment systems, telephone poles made of tungsten dropped from orbit. They hit with the force of nuclear weapons but with no radiation. We have improved that design considerably. Those molecular dissolving weapons your fleets encountered, Helen said, were originally designed to eliminate nuclear waste by breaking it down into harmless basic elements. We found they had other uses. War matron Scalex's 4 eyes grew wide. You turned waste disposal technology into weapons? Among other things, Helen replied calmly. Our stellar lances started as mining tools for cutting up asteroids. Our phase shift drives were made to avoid space debris. Our quantum cascade bombs began as research into clean energy. The chamber filled with horrified chatter. Aliens spoke, in dozens of languages, about the implications of what they were hearing. The eternal voice's glow became brighter with panic. You are saying your civilian technology is the basis for weapons that are destroying our military forces?
Not civilian technology, Helen corrected. Retired military technology. What you are seeing now represents about 40% of our current military capability. The silence that followed was complete and terrifying. An old voice spoke from
the back of the chamber. The Wanderer was one of the oldest beings in the galaxy. He rarely came to council meetings, but today was different. Human delegate, your species gives warnings before unleashing destruction. This suggests you still have mercy even in war. What would it take for you to stop fighting? Helen's expression became slightly softer. Complete withdrawal from all. Human star systems. Payment for civilian damages. Recognition of human territory as sovereign. And formal acknowledgement that we have been showing restraint. And if we refuse? Vexitar buzzed, though he sounded like he already knew the answer. Helen's smile returned, and this time it was definitely not pleasant. Admiral Morrison has been very clear about this. He is prepared to show the galaxy what happens when humanity stops restraining itself completely. She activated another display. It showed a single human ship approaching a Corvanian military station. The station was huge and housed 50,000 soldiers. The human ship looked tiny next to it. This is the UES Necessity. Captain Brown is about to demonstrate our Nova-class weaponry. The ship fired one time. The space station and the moon it orbited simply disappeared. They were not destroyed or blown apart. They were converted completely into energy that briefly outshone the system's sun. Every being in the chamber stared in shocked silence. The Necessity is one of 12 ships in our Apocalypse-class fleet, Helen said quietly. They carry weapons that can turn gas giant planets into new stars. We have never used them in actual combat because we believed in proportional response. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate who would look back at her. You have a choice. Honored delegates, you can accept our terms and learn to live peacefully with a species that chooses to show mercy. Or you can continue this war and discover what humanity looks like when we stop choosing to be merciful. The eternal voice glowed with colors that meant fear and submission. The council calls for an immediate vote on ceasefire terms. One by one, every species voted to accept humanity's demands. The vote was unanimous. No one wanted to see what an unrestrained human military would do to the galaxy. But even as the official war ended, some species were not ready to give up. In hidden bases and secret meetings, resistance groups formed. They refused to accept that humans could dominate the galaxy through superior firepower. These groups would soon learn that there was a significant difference between humanity fighting with restraint and humanity fighting without any limits at all. The galaxy had voted for peace, but not everyone was listening. General Marcus Kelly stood in the control room of the UES Vengeance. Outside the thick windows, space looked peaceful and quiet. But Marcus knew better. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy told a different story. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan looked up from her computer screen. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she read the latest news. Sir, we have confirmation from the Rigel sector. The alien resistance used biological weapons against Kepler 442b colony. The entire ecosystem is dead. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. Kepler 442b had been home to 2 million humans and their alien friends, families who had thought they were safe after the ceasefire agreement, children who had been playing in parks just days ago. Casualties? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer would be terrible. Total, sir. The biological weapon was designed to kill anything with Earth DNA. Every human, every Earth plant, every bacteria from our home world. They all died within 6 hours. Captain Ryan Murphy pulled up the battle reports on the main screen. The attack was led by Zolothian Commander Zekthal. Intelligence says he is leading a group of species that refuse to accept human territory, claims. Marcus opened his eyes. They were cold enough to freeze liquid nitrogen. Open a channel to Earth Command. The hologram of Admiral Jake Morrison appeared in the room. His face looked older than it had just months before. The weight of commanding humanity's war effort was visible in every line on his face. I know what you are going to ask, Marcus, Jake said quietly. 2 million civilians, Jake. Men, women, children. They used biological weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. Every rule of war that humanity ever wrote has been thrown away. Jake was silent for a long time. You are asking for permission to use Omega protocols. I am asking for permission to show this galaxy what human warfare really looks like when we remove every limit we have ever placed on ourselves. Another figure appeared in the hologram. President Elizabeth Hayes of the United Earth Government looked like she had not slept in days. The decision she was about to make would change galactic history forever. General Kelly, she said slowly, are you certain this is necessary? Madam President, they killed 2 million of our people with weapons designed to cause agony. They are attempting genocide against humanity. If we do not respond with overwhelming force, every species in this galaxy will think humans are acceptable targets. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came from somewhere off-screen. The psychological impact alone could end all resistance, Elizabeth. If we demonstrate the full range of human warfare capabilities, the remaining enemy groups will likely surrender rather than face complete destruction. President Hayes was quiet for several minutes. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of every human government on Earth and in the colonies. Omega protocols are authorized. General Kelly, you now have unlimited authority to fight this war using any means necessary. May God forgive us all. The transmission ended. Marcus turned to his crew. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now operating under Omega protocols. All normal rules of engagement are suspended. All weapons restrictions are lifted. All experimental technologies are approved for field use. Lieutenant Sullivan looked up from her station. Sir, what are our targets? Marcus walked to the tactical display showing enemy fleet positions across their sector. All of them. We are going to show this galaxy what humans do when we stop pretending to be civilized. The first target was the Zolothian Command Fleet, 47 ships including their flagship, the Supremacy. Commander Zekthal had made the mistake of gathering his forces in the Vega system, probably planning to attack Earth's outer defenses. The UES Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. It came alone. Zekthal's tactical officer immediately started screaming warnings. Commander, it is a single human ship, but the energy readings are impossible. Sir, it is generating power equal to a Class G star. One ship, Zekthal buzzed, with confidence. Even with their advanced technology, one ship cannot defeat an entire battle fleet. He was about to learn exactly how wrong the galaxy had been about human capabilities. The Vengeance fired its primary weapon. The Stellar Forge was a device that had been purely theoretical until 3 days ago. Instead of turning matter into energy, it turned energy into matter, creating a temporary black hole that lasted exactly 4.7 seconds before evaporating in a burst of radiation. The Zolothian fleet did not have time to send distress signals. Across the galaxy, similar demonstrations began happening with terrifying speed. Human forces deployed weapons that bent space and time, that reached through dimensions to strike targets light years away, that turned entire star systems into military resources. The UES Nemesis, under Captain Nicole Foster, showed the galaxy humanity's control over stellar engineering by making a star go supernova on command. The system had been cleared of civilians, but the military forces there learned that humans could weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe. On planets, human soldiers began using power armor that made individual fighters into walking weapons of mass destruction. Sergeant Amy Brooks led a squad that captured an entire Corvanian military base using suits that could phase through solid matter, create localized gravity wells, and project energy shields strong enough to stop spaceship weapons. But perhaps most terrifying was humanity's information warfare capability. Dr. Janet King led the cyber warfare division that proved humans could hack the quantum computers of species that had been using advanced artificial intelligence for millions of years. "We learned to fight thinking machines on Earth," she explained to a captured alien admiral. "Your computers are very advanced, but they were not built by a species that spent centuries teaching machines to kill other machines." Within weeks, the remaining resistance movements found their command systems compromised, their fleet movements predicted, their strategies countered before they could implement them. Alien military leaders began to understand a horrible truth. Humanity had not just developed advanced weapons. They had developed a completely different philosophy of warfare that treated the laws of physics as suggestions and the concept of proportional response as a luxury they could no longer afford. In space battles, human ships appeared and disappeared at will. They struck from impossible angles using weapons that should not exist. They turned enemy weapons against their creators and made hostile fleets destroy themselves. The resistance movements that had formed after the ceasefire began surrendering. In massive numbers, those who continued fighting found themselves facing opponents who fought like the universe itself had turned against them. The war was effectively over. But the galaxy was about to learn that ending a war with humanity was very different from surviving one. Humanity had removed all restraints. Now the galaxy would discover what that really meant. 1 year after the Omega Protocols ended the war, Ambassador Helen Wright walked back into the Galactic Council chambers. The Great Hall looked the same as before, with its crystal walls and elaborate seating for dozens of species. But everything else had changed completely. Where there had once been arrogance and dismissive laughter toward humanity, now there was careful respect mixed with fear. The delegates who had once mocked Earth's warnings now stood up when Helen entered the room. The eternal voice, the ancient crystal being who led the council, glowed with colors that meant respect and caution. "Ambassador Wright, the council welcomes Earth's representative. We trust your journey from the Sol system was peaceful." Helen took her seat at what was now the head of the council table. This position had not existed before the war, but no one questioned humanity's right to it now. "Thank you, eternal voice. Yes, the journey was very peaceful. Our new hyperspace corridors make travel much more efficient." That was putting it mildly. In the months after the war ended, humanity had revealed transportation technology that made the fastest alien ships look like rowboats. Humans could cross the galaxy in days instead of months, and their ability to create stable wormholes had changed interstellar trade forever. Vextar, the bug-like alien who had survived the destruction of his fleet, clicked his mandibles nervously. His species had lost almost a third of their military during the brief but devastating war. "Ambassador, we have received reports that human colonies are expanding into territories that were previously contested. Some of our member species are concerned about boundaries." Helen smiled. It was the same expression that had once terrified the council, but now it seemed almost warm compared to what they had seen during the war. "I understand their concern, Vextar. Please assure them that humanity has no interest in conquest for its own sake. We are expanding into systems that were abandoned during the war, or that have strategic importance for galactic security." War Matron Scalex, representing what remained of the Corvanian Empire, leaned forward in her chair. "Galactic security? You speak as if humanity has appointed itself guardian of the galaxy. Not appointed, Helen corrected gently. The role was given to us by necessity. When species deploy biological weapons and planet killers in wars of extermination, someone must ensure it never happens again. She activated a holographic display showing human military installations throughout the galaxy. Space stations, patrol fleets, and research facilities had appeared with startling speed over the past year. The human peacekeeping force now maintains a presence in 47 star systems, Helen continued. We monitor for signs of weapons development that could threaten civilian populations. We respond to distress calls from any species, regardless of their political relationships with Earth. And we ensure that the kind of atrocities committed during the recent war never happen again. Dr. Carl Johnson, Earth's new Minister of Galactic Sciences, stood to address the Council. We have also begun sharing certain technologies with allied species. Our medical advances have eliminated 17 different diseases that have plagued various worlds for centuries. Our terraforming techniques are helping restore ecosystems damaged during the war. The eternal voice glowed with confusion. You are sharing technology that could potentially be used against you? Some technology, Helen clarified. We have learned that isolation breeds fear, and fear breeds conflict. By helping other species improve their quality of life, we reduce the chances of future wars. The Wanderer, one of the galaxy's oldest entities, spoke from his usual place in the upper galleries. His voice was ancient and filled with electronic static. Human delegate, your species has demonstrated capabilities that many of us believed were impossible. What assurance do we have that humanity will not become tyrannical rulers? Helen considered the question carefully. It was one that had been debated extensively on Earth since the war ended. The same assurance we gave you 2 years ago, she replied. We restrain ourselves by choice. We could have conquered this galaxy completely. Our military analysts estimate it would have taken about 18 months with acceptable casualties. Instead, we chose to build something better. She gestured to the chamber around them. This council still exists. Your species maintain their independence. Your cultures, your governments, your ways of life continue mostly unchanged. We did not come here as conquerors. We came as neighbors who were forced to defend themselves. Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Brown, now serving as military liaison to the council, stepped forward. Humanity learned something important during our own world wars. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. We are not here to force human values on other species. We are here to ensure that no species forces extinction on another. The council session continued for several more hours. They discussed trade agreements, territorial disputes, and cultural exchange programs. But the real conversation was happening in the unspoken understanding that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. After the session ended, Helen stood on an observation deck overlooking the council station's main docking bay. Ships from dozens of species came and went, but now they all followed flight paths monitored by human traffic control systems. Not because humanity demanded it, but because human technology made travel safer and faster for everyone. Dr. Lisa Carter joined her at the viewing window. Any regrets? She asked quietly. Helen watched a Corvanian transport dock peacefully next to a Zolothian research vessel. These were species that had been at war for centuries before humanity arrived. About the war? No. About the necessity of it, every single day. The galaxy is safer now, Lisa observed. Conflicts are resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. The threat of human intervention has made most species much more diplomatic. And that troubles you? Lisa was quiet for a moment. I wonder sometimes if we have become what we always feared, the dominant species that forces its will through superior firepower. Helen turned to face her old friend. The difference, Lisa, is that we use our power to prevent wars, not start them. Every human installation in this galaxy is staffed by people who would rather be home with their families. Every weapon we deploy is one we hope never to fire. Every show of force is designed to make the next show of force unnecessary. And if that ever changes, if humanity loses its capacity for restraint, Helen looked back out at the stars where human ships patrolled the spaces between worlds, ensuring that travelers moved safely through the darkness. Then God help us all. But as long as we remember what we are protecting instead of what we are capable of destroying, I think we will be fine. In the months that followed, the galaxy settled into its new reality. Humanity maintained its role as reluctant guardians, intervening only when necessary but always prepared for the worst. The species that had once mocked Earth's warnings now sent their best students to learn at human universities, their diplomats to study negotiation techniques that did not involve violence, and their military officers to understand warfare they hoped never to see again. And in the deepest archives of human military command, sealed away under the highest security, the designs for weapons that made the Omega systems look primitive waited in digital darkness. Humanity had learned the galaxy's most important lesson. Sometimes the best way to keep peace is to be so prepared for war that no one dares to start one. The galaxy had been warned. The galaxy had ignored the warning. The galaxy had learned. And now, finally, the galaxy was at peace.